Hey everyone, today we're going to discuss about the confidence level and sample size on population mean. Dun sa last lesson natin, di ba, we've discussed about the confidence interval on the population mean and population proportion. So, from there, nalaman natin kung paano may estimate natin yung population mean or population proportion. Now, in our lesson today, we're going to determine ilan ba yung kailangan nating sample size para ma-estimate natin yung population mean. Okay, so this time we're going to determine ilan ba dapat yung sample natin if we're going to conduct a particular study. So, the minimum sample size needed to estimate the population mean is expressed as the formula. This formula here, and that the sample size is equal to the z score and the critical value times the population standard deviation divided by the margin of error, and we square that entire expression. So we make use of the same critical values for for each of the level of significance that we have, and we only use this if we have an idea kung ano yung population standard deviation. Of course, hindi siya mag-work kapag sample standard deviation meron tayo, kasi in the first place, wala pa naman tayong sample. Kasi kaya nga natin kinukuha yung sample size, di ba? Wala pa tayong sample. So, there's no sense if we're going to try to get a sample standard deviation. And yun, margin of error, we're going to set that one. So, let me illustrate how this works through an example. So, this is an example here. Annie wants to estimate the average height of calamansi plants. She decided to have 95% confidence level and should be accurate to within zero point 0.5 centimeters. From a previous study, the standard deviation of the height of calamansi plants was 2.5 centimeters. So, we were able to determine the population standard deviation through a previous study. So, how much sample does she need? So, ano yung sample size na kailangan niya in order for her to conduct the study? And her study is ina-try niyang i-determine yung population mean ng average height ng calamansi plants. So, ang first step natin is we're going to determine the values of the variable in the problem. So, the population standard deviation, that's 2.5 centimeters. The margin of error, sabi kasi dito, it should be accurate to within zero point 0.5 centimeters right here. So, E, the margin of error is equal to zero point 0.5 centimeters. And the confidence level is 95%. Since we have the confidence level of 95%, we can have the critical value there. Since the confidence level is 0.8 is 95%, the critical value that we'll be using is z equals 1.96. And remember, yung critical value, we can determine that by memorizing the values that were given in the previous lesson. Pag 90%, z equals 1.65. Pag 95%, z equals 1.96. And pag 99%, z equals 2.58. So please memorize those values, okay? So, now that we have the critical value, the population standard deviation, and the margin of error, we can now determine the sample size. So how do we do that? We just plug in the values into the formula. N equals critical value times population standard deviation all over the margin of error, and the entire expression is squared. This one, 1.96, the critical value, times the population standard deviation 2.5 divided by 0.5 squared. Using our calculator, we can compute that, and we're going to get 96.04. So we're going to round it off to the nearest whole number since we're talking about sample sizes. So the sample size needed for the study is n equals 96. This means that Annie needs to have 96 calamansi plants. So ang gagawin ni Annie, kuha siya ng 96 calamansi plants, get the height and get the average height, and we can use that to estimate the average height of calamansi plants. And remember, we are going to round it off to the nearest whole number because we're talking about sample sizes. So, wala namang 0.04 na calamansi plant, diba? So, we're going to round it off to the nearest whole number. So, that's how we apply this formula here. We just have to have the values of the variable, may lang wala ka lang population standard deviation, margin of error, and you should have the confidence level. From the confidence level, we can derive the critical value. And we plug in the formula, we plug in the values into the formula to come up with the value of the critical value, the sample size. So we get n equals 96. So ibig sabihin nito, kapag nag-estimate pala tayo ng population mean gamit ang sample size na 96, ang margin of error natin is nasa 0.5 within 0.5 centimeters. So that's how it is. There are some examples by here. Please review, study about these examples. Try to answer the problems on your own. Then I'll be uploading this on the Google Drive that we have and also on the front learners. Okay. So the point in this lesson is that we can manipulate the formula for the margin of error. By the way, paano nga pala nakuha tong formula na to? It is derived from the margin of error formula. Remember yung margin of error formula natin, we can transpose it, solve for the value of n, we can come up with this. Ganun siya kinukuha. So, nakuha lang siya dun, and ang goal naman natin dito, gusto nating malaman kung ano yung kailangan sample size. This is useful so that we would know the sample size that we're going to have for our study. And ito ay applicable pa sa population mean. For our next lesson, we're going to have the same topic, but this time it's for the population proportion naman. So I hope you guys learned a lot today. Thank you guys for watching and see you on the next video.